Hello.
Hello. Another week, another live. It doesn't even feel like it's been a week since the last one. I know we did 2 last week, but
yeah, I think we got a bit overexcited last week, and now we think we should be doing them all the time.
Yeah. Oh, don't we do these every day? No, I think people will get bored. We'd love it. So today we're talking about Canva. A much request. This is a Creative Cowshed member request video, because we mentioned Canva and everyone went, "Oh, we need to know more." So this is it. This is it. So I mean, why don't you kick us off? What is Canva to you, Charlotte?
Canva to me now, and Canva to me 2 years ago, are slightly different things. But Canva, as it is now, is a really great all-round design, asset management, and scheduling tool. So whatever you need for social media, chances are you can do it in Canva. So you can make reels, you can make your Facebook cover photos, you could do animated social media, Instagram stories, pretty much anything you can think of. You could. There's a design for it now.
Imagery.
They've thought about it all.
It's all that.
And they recently added scheduling. So now, as of a few weeks ago, you can schedule to all the major social media platforms, including Instagram, which I just think is the best thing since sliced bread. So you probably noticed we put in our stories the morning of every live story that goes up saying, going live, this is the topic in the Creative Cowshed. I make all those in Canva and I post them through Canva. So I don't have to download it to my phone. I literally can just push it straight to our business profile through Canva, which is just awesome. And not so much now, but previously when we were doing social media management for a lot of clients, and we had a lot of assets and we're churning out a lot of different things, our phones used to get so clogged up with pictures and graphics and all the sort of stuff we were putting out. So just being able to push it directly from Canva and not do the whole download and then re-upload to post rigmarole, I think is superb.
Yeah. And Canva, we've both been using for a long time. I've probably been using it for certainly 3 years now, probably nearly 4 years. And it has come on leaps and bounds. When I first interacted with it, and I will just caveat this with the fact that we have the Pro version. Yeah. And Pro sounds very big and scary and potentially expensive, but it's not. I think, do we pay about £149 a year?
Something like that. It works out at about £10 a month. I think not even that. It's really not a huge amount in the grand scheme of things.
Not a hugely expensive tool. So to get all the Pro, and forgive us because sometimes we won't differentiate between Pro and like standard. So if we're talking about something and you're not getting it in the free version, it's probably because it's a Pro version. But I mean, for us, it's worth every penny, and for a lot of our clients, they have it as well. And it's been an absolute, godsend.
And what about stock imagery as well?
Yeah, well, so stock imagery is something that we don't love stock imagery, full stop, because what we prefer to do, obviously, is as part of a photo shoot package, is actually think about what kind of stock imagery you might need and try and get that, whether it's countryside shots, whether it's gardening shots, flower shots, all those sorts of things. We'd rather get them for you so it's yours and unique. But if you do need stock imagery, Canva's got an amazing bank of stock photos. And actually, if you know what you're looking for, there's some good quality stuff on there. There's a lot of rubbish, but that's the case on any of the stock imagery sites. And price wise, I mean, £10 a month, if that's what we think the Pro is, you can have unlimited stock imagery. If you did that on Shutterstock, £10 a month would get you not a lot of images, maybe 5. So yeah, very, very good from that point of view. And the one tool that come along, and this is one thing that's important to say, is the Canva that I first bought into 3.5 years ago is not the Canva that I'm using now. It has they've spent so much money and time developing the platform to be really an incredibly powerful tool. One of my favorites that's sort of popped up more recently is the background remover. It's not as good as a human doing it, but if you've got a relatively crisp, clear image, it's pretty good and it's very quick. So, you know, from that point of view, that's been a really interesting one to sort of play with and use. And you mentioned, actually, it's not something I've used yet, but you mentioned a tool earlier, a mock-up tool.
Yeah, there's an integration called Smart Mockups, which allows you to do things like putting your image on a mug. There's a gap in there, and you can put your image in there, and it'll wrap it around it. So it's really handy if you need a really quick mock-up of a product and you haven't had a chance to get them rendered yet, or you haven't had a chance to get them photographed yet. That's a really handy tool, like on t-shirts and stuff, which usually you'd be downloading those from somewhere like Creator Market or Etsy and photoshopping them on. But obviously there's extra cost associated with that. So as a quick fix, that's another really handy tool, and it makes it more accessible. I think that's what's great about Canva. It's made a lot of features more accessible to small businesses that wouldn't ordinarily be. But I'll caveat that, and I think this is something we're going to go on to in more detail, with saying it's not a replacement for a proper graphic designer, for web design, for good photography. That it's a halfway house, and you can use it incredibly effectively. And a lot of professionals use it to manage their assets, and run big corporations using it now to run teams, just so that everyone can stay on brand and quickly create content. But a lot of their assets have been developed by a graphic designer. It's got to come from somewhere.
And that's my big thing. If somebody comes to us, I mean, it's not a service that we actually offer anymore, but if somebody had come to us previously and been like, I want you to take over my social media, I want you to produce all of our social media, infographics, all that kind of stuff. If they said, I don't have a logo, branding, brand guidelines, etc., well, you'd cry, but it would be first stop to a graphic designer to get all of that stuff produced, because it's not going to look professional in Canva if you don't have brand guidelines. You know, we work with a fantastic designer called Liv, who produced such detailed brand guidelines for us that it means that we then were able to go and play with bits and bobs in Canva on the website, etc., and play with the colours and make sure that everything that we produce is on brand. Just because you've got Canva doesn't mean it looks professional. That's my big thing. Is you see a lot of Canva done really well, but you see even more Canva done really badly, because it gives people too much free reign from a design perspective, and sometimes that cannot be pretty. So if you are currently sat there going, I don't know what brand guidelines are, I don't know what branding is, I don't have a logo, I don't know what my colors are, luckily next week our live is all about brand identity, foundation, using the right designer. So don't fear, we will cover that next week. So
oh, I think Alice is frozen. We've lost Alice. I think she's coming back. If not, I'll just rattle on my own.
I'm here. Was that me?
Yeah, you went.
How weird. Everything disappeared. So my internet's switching over today. I did say this before the live, didn't I? And I said, I don't know when it's going to drop out. I'm very worried now that it's going to drop out whilst we're talking. So yes, what was I rattling on about? So next week, we're going to be going back to really where we would make sure everybody starts, which is by working with a fantastic designer. And I won't delve too deeply into it, but not every graphic designer is for every business. There are certain styles, there's ways of working, there's types of packages they produce. So we're going to go through all of that next week. So Canva comes with the caveat of you have to have really good brand guidelines and know how to use them, know how to use your palette and everything like that. And actually, we've got a module in our new training course, so Command Your Content, which is going to go live, but is definitely going live at the weekend. And that has got a self-led module on using Canva and getting yourself set up for success on Canva. You know, making sure your colours are right, how to pick a good template, what a good template looks like, what to avoid, all those kind of things. So if you want to know how to translate your brand guidelines, that's something that we can obviously, that we do cover in one of those self-led units. So yeah, so I'm a big fan of Canva. You are, but the big one that sort of really attracted our attention recently, from the point of view of helping our small business owners, is the scheduling element.
Yeah,
it's been there for a while, hasn't it? But they hadn't had Instagram. Instagram was still not playing ball with them.
If you watched our previous lives, I think in about 3 or 4 lives, I mentioned how much I love Canva, but how annoyed I was you couldn't use Instagram scheduling on it. And then when it dropped the other week, I was so excited.
And they didn't.
I don't want to get excited, but
I don't think they shouted about it a huge amount. And I know that there are several people in this group who are looking at it as an option. And now that Instagram is there, I think they're really going to start being competitive with the likes of Later, because that, you know, Later's quite an expensive tool. You know, it's fine for us because we're on the pro version and we get all the shiny bits and bobs. But for a small business owner who is already using Canva and maybe has invested in pro, the scheduling tool is blooming good.
Yeah, you're doubling up effectively. I mean, depends what level you're going into with your scheduling and your analytics, because there are tools that have been around for a long time, like Later and Hootsuite and Sprout and Iconosquare, that have got a lot of data and a lot of power, not just in the scheduling, but in hashtag analytics, audience analytics, being able to pull all your data and visualize it. So there's swings and roundabouts. Canva can't do that yet.
No.
But you can still get your analytics direct from your Facebook or Instagram. So it's not the end of the world. And if it's not as important to you as having the graphic design element and you only had to pick one, then I'd say pick Canva.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of effort to go and get your analytics then from Facebook and Instagram manually, but on balance, Canva does so much more in terms of getting your content in the first place. And even just things like just resizing a photo. So we were making some web events for a client yesterday. I was editing stuff and I said to Alex, I just need these 2 images in a 400 pixel square. Just whack them in Canva, send them back over to me. And it took a minute. And even like I couldn't do it that quickly in Photoshop because of the time it takes to boot up and export it and upload it. And it's just, even for little things like that, so quick and easy.
Yeah.
And being able to do it all on my phone as well.
And things like being able to have all your brand guidelines loaded in there, having your fonts loaded in there, you know, suddenly you've got a very, very usable bit of kit. And I think the brilliant thing about having really strong brand guidelines means that you can take, so Canva works on a template basis. So when you boot up Canva and you say want to do an Instagram post, it will give you reams and reams and reams. I mean, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of templates Canva has got, but it gives you reams and reams of templates. Now, what you don't want to do is just pick a template, stick your image in it, and then go, brilliant, done. You have to make that template your own, because other people are using it as well. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but do you think, does this fit my brand? If you've got a super sort of shabby chic brand that's really like homely, don't go for something really modern with like really sharp lines, because that's not going to fit with your brand and it's going to look strange on your grid. So one thing that you taught me a few weeks ago, actually, I didn't ever know this. If you find a template that you really, really like, there's 3 dots that come up in the corner of it, and you can look and see what else that designer has created, and it's likely that it's going to be in a similar style, and you can then sort of have a look and see what else they've made. But do always take the time to make sure the colours are your colours and the font is your font, etc., etc.
Yeah, and don't always go with the first one you see on the homepage, because chances are everyone else is seeing that too and thinking, oh yeah, I like that. And sometimes think outside the box. So you might go, okay, I'm a hairdresser, I want a template for hairdressing services. But you could go, menu, I want restaurant menu templates, and then you can use those, tweak them a bit, and repurpose them. So don't always go for the obvious, because then you're more likely to not be doing the same as every other hairdresser on Instagram who's using Canva templates. And there's some really, really great ones. And if you're in a particular niche that someone hasn't created a template for, just think outside the box and go and just see what there is out there.
Yeah.
And just try it with your colours and see what it looks like, because you never know how it can work. Putting a different image in, one of your brand images, can change it entirely.
Yeah, and that's the brilliant thing about Canva, is you can play with it, and you're like everything, you're not going to break it. You can just play, and if it doesn't work, you delete it and you move on to the next one. But that's, you know, that's the beauty of these tools, is that, you know, version control is not a thing anymore, because, you know, it's not like you are editing an original document. You have, you know, you can make copies, you can remixing. Don't we love a remix? So if this is going to mean nothing if you've never used Canva before, but one of the amazing magical things about Canva is if I make an Instagram post, like a square grid post, and then I think, oh, it'd be really lovely in a couple of weeks to just recycle that and kind of make sure that reiterate it on our stories. Canva gives you this option to remix. So basically what you do is you tell it the dimensions you want to convert that design to, and it will convert it to that new, so it'll take all of the content from that and put it into your story shaped template. Now, sometimes you have to go in and like change the size of things and move things around, because it doesn't necessarily translate exactly. So you do have to do some tweaking and some moving. But wow, like what an amazing way to...
It does a lot of the hard work for you.
Yes, rather than like
very quick
moving across and copying and pasting and stuff. You know, it is really magic. And yeah, and we're also getting more things like there's data tools now. Who would have thought? But there are data.
I love a graph. You can make your own pie chart, which I think is great.
Yeah, Charlotte is desperate for something where she can use some of these number things. I know we've already done one, but there's loads more tools that you're desperate to use that are number based, because that's your thing, isn't it? So that's very, very exciting. Please do pop any questions about Canva in the comments section. We are more than happy to try and answer them for you. We're very good with Canva, but I don't think we're Canva experts. So if you do have any questions, do pop them in the comment box below. If we can't answer them now, we will endeavour to find you an answer and bring it to you. But yeah, I think Canva is a fantastic way to sort of start to explore things as well. We play with concepts on Canva, don't we, in terms of web layouts and images and mood boards and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing. So traditionally, it depends on what you're doing, but there's a few complicated software that you could use for web mockups. And I thought, actually, I might just try doing this in Canva, because I just want a really rough idea where we're going to put some images, what these colours are going to look like together, is it going to work? And it's so quick and easy. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing to think about, another use for it. If you're redesigning your website, or if you are getting someone else to design your website and you need to collaborate and just play with a few ideas, really easy way to do that. Same with mood boards. It's really easy to have a shared mood board, and you can all access it, drop different things in. sort of as the next level from doing, what we tend to do is do a Pinterest inspo guide for a photo shoot, for example, and then the next level would be then to pull some things into a mood board, which you can then do in Canva. I think for graphic design, a similar thing, getting lots of colours and fonts and things that you like. You can put it in a mood board, look at it all together and go, I like that, I don't like this. And seeing it in one place is super easy.
Yeah, I did back when we sort of rebranded as Heard It Here, I actually made a few stories and a few posts about sort of our brand development. And I demonstrated some of the colours we played with, some of the fonts we played with, where we ended up getting, how we ended up getting from sort of point A to eventual branding. And a lot of that was done through playing with Canva. You sent me a thing the other day, because we are redoing our website at the moment, and you sent me a Canva document, and it had different font combinations. And you said, Alice, just let me know which ones you like.
Pick one.
There's 5 different options, and I was like, right, my eye was drawn to that one, and I don't like those 3, and that one's amazing, like absolutely fantastic tool for looking to see how things will end up looking. You might not end up using that document, but it's a great tool to get you to your end result. If you're we work with a lot of people who are exceptionally good at what they do, but they really struggle to get their ideas, like they can't describe the ideas they have for like product concepts or what their website will look like or what their Instagram will look like. And by using Canva, it's sort of a way of giving them a graphic design tool to show us without them needing, super duper knowledge of how to use Photoshop, for example.
Wendy's saying that's her.
Yeah, and Wendy's saying she feels not using it enough, but always delighted when she does. Yeah, it's one of those tools that the more you use it and the more you get in the habit of using it, the more you discover. I mean, we're still discovering bits and bobs of tools and tricks and things. And again, YouTube is an amazing source of how to use new bits that appear, or how, like, tricks for Canva. We've got some shortcuts that we can share for you of how to make Canva do things quickly. And it's those little things that suddenly make this a tool that you're very comfortable using on a daily basis, and just makes life so much easier and doesn't clog up your computer with very, very hefty files.
That's another thing. Just dumping stuff in Canva instead of having it on my phone or laptop is a great thing.
And actually, that brings me on to another thought. Quite often, if you're a small business owner and you're working with a web developer, or you're working with somebody like us, we will ask you for a PDF of this, a PNG of this, a JPEG of this. We'll ask you for an MP4. We'll ask you for all these different file types. And when you download a document, a file from Canva, you can choose what you download it as. So if it's a reel, for example, you'll download that as an MP4. If it's a graphic for Instagram, you might download that as a PNG or a JPEG, depending on what you need. So it's this very straightforward way of knowing or being able to download different types of files.
Yeah, really handy. And again, you can do that whether you're on your phone or on your laptop, which in a pinch is really useful, because we might go, oh, we need a PNG of that now, and you're out on a trade stand at a show. Well, this is inconvenient, but it's that Canva enables you to do that. If you've got it saved in your Canva assets, you can pop it into a design, download it, or even just share the link to the design with us. So it makes collaboration super easy. Yeah,
it is very good for collaboration. So I think all that positivity brings us back to the final message, and sort of leads us into next week, really. But I know that this is your thing, so I'm going to hand this one over to you. But just dipping back to the graphic design element and leading us into next week, the Canva caveat of why you need a designer.
Yeah, I think, first of all, don't rely on Canva to design all your logos, because you've probably seen it before. You'll start to see certain things coming up. There's a certain geometric horse that I've seen in a lot of equestrian logos that's on Canva.
Yeah.
So it's not unique to new. Without going into too much detail, what makes Canva different to tools like Adobe Illustrator and the Affinity versions, things like Procreate, which is what a lot of artists and designers use? Those tools allow them to hand draw or digitally draw or formulate shapes and lines and create a logo or an illustration. Canva doesn't really let you do that. So you need those things to be developed elsewhere, and then you can use them as part of designing Canva. But you can't really truly replace a good graphic designer who can think outside the box, might be able to use custom fonts for you. It's how far you want to go, really. The really top end, we've worked with some amazing graphic designers who produce really out of the box thinking, very highly customized designs, fonts, all your colors. They'll deliver all your colors in Pantones and CMYK and RGB and hex, which to most small businesses might mean nothing. But when you come to get something printed, they'll ask for your colors in CMYK. Somebody else will ask for your website. Usually we use the hex code. And it'll all be in a nice kit together, delivered to you, everything you need, so that when you're working with other freelancers and we ask you for stuff, you can go, oh yeah, great, my graphic designer's given me this. Here you go. And what we love is when clients just hand us over a beautiful folder of things their graphic designers handed over to them, and we can just take it and do stuff with it. Makes our lives really easy. It'll make your web designer's life really easy, whoever it is you're working with. And it's not just a design as well, which we'll probably go into more next week. It's about your brand identity, and that's not just logos and colors and fonts. It's thinking about your tone of voice, your values, everything all builds in together. And good designers, you might have the option to do the brand development with them. And this is something we really love doing when we're working with a client to develop a brand, and then we tie in with the design and we bring it all together. So we go through the concept, we come up with the name, keywords, audiences, values, tone of voice, and all that feeds together, and the graphic designer goes, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. And if they know who you're talking to, what you're trying to convey, what you like, what kind of colors are going to work, then it makes their life so much easier. They can do amazing stuff.
Yeah.
So don't discount that.
Your branding is such a cornerstone to your business, that you need that expert. We are passionate about you getting that expert support, and that's not even from us. We work with graphic designers to help translate what a business wants and translate it into the values and everything, and we do that kind of brand development element. But the design element is such a specific thing and such a specific talent, which we'll deep dive into next week. But yes, my caveat on the amazingness of Canva is you need the amazingness of a graphic designer first. Yeah. So, and there endeth the lesson, I think. I feel like, but yeah, so Canva is fantastic. If you've got any questions about Canva, pop them below. If you want to know more about the Command Your Content course, which is our 6-week 6-module course. So that is with us live, a little bit like this, but obviously on very, very specific topics. So you get 6 live sessions with us, and then you get 6 self-led learning modules. God, that's words. Which is starting on the 3rd of June. 3rd of June. Say it with
me. Launch party 27th of May.
Launch party 27th of May, a first official learning session 3rd of June at 7 p.m. If you can't make 7 p.m, there will always be a recording available, but obviously you won't quite get that live kind of interaction of a question, but you will obviously be very welcome to ask any questions following up from a session, if there's anything that you want us to sort of cover in more detail. So that is £300 for all 6 modules led by us, and the 6 self-led modules. And there'll always be a few extra, you know what we're like, there'll always be a few extra bits. And at the end, you get a 1-hour strategy session with us on a one-to-one basis to really deep dive into your business and make sure you know exactly what you are going to take from that course and take forward.
And that's where you're going to get so much value out of it, and where you can ask all your specific questions to your business, pick our brains, and just cover anything that's popped up in those 6 weeks. That's your opportunity to go, actually, I want to know more about that. Can you help me on this? Can you recommend a graphic designer to help me work with this? Whatever it is, we're just there to help.
Yeah, and one of our big things when we were designing the course is that you are going to start taking action. Actually, before you even start the course, there are a couple of bits of action that you can take. But the idea being is that you start making little tiny gains every single week. So by the end of it, that's not when the benefits start. The benefits start in week 1. You start making little incremental gains to add up to something really, really brilliant. And we're so excited. We've sort of tested bits with people and the feedback's been lovely. So we're just excited to get going now. Really excited.
Not long now.
So we will pop a link to the full sort of blurb about everything to do with the course. We'll pop that into the Creative Cowshed group. You will be the first to know, and then it will go on general release at the weekend. And yeah, we hope to see some friendly faces there. We've already got a couple of people already booked on, which is very exciting. And we will see you all next week on Thursday at 1 o'clock as usual. We are creatures of habit. Talk about graphic designers if you hadn't grasped that.
We're banging on about it today, hammering it home.
We will see you all next week. Bye.
Next week.